In perfect timing with the woman-directed blockbuster Wonder Woman smashing all box office records, in July 2017 at San Diego Comic-Con, some amazing women came together for the second annual panel of Women Rocking Hollywood. It included powerhouses Victoria Mahoney, Aurora Guerrero, Tina Mabry, Rosemary Rodriguez, Angela Robinson, Gina Prince-Bythewood, and Kirsten Schaefer, and was moderated by the panel's creator, me, Leslie Combemale of CinemaSiren.com. We showed trailers of some shows and movies the directors have worked on and talked about their careers. Special thanks to the Oprah Winfrey Network, Annapurna Pictures, and Women in Film LA. Now, watch these inspiring women speak. So, first to speak is Victoria Mahoney, who's offering up applause to you all who are here to see us. She was trained by Shelley Winters at the Actors Studio, has been working as an advocate for women in front and behind the camera while directing, writing, and producing. She directed an episode in last season of Queen Sugar and has since worked on American Crime, Claws, Power, and Misfits, and all of these women have had feature films, except for Kirsten, who represents Women in Film LA. So we're starting with Victoria. So let me ask you, since Shelley Winters did train you at the Actors Studio, which must have been a little terrifying and wonderful, two Juilliard-trained actresses are stars of Queen Sugar. As a guest director on the show, how do you determine how much to guide them, and how do you work with actors you can clearly see have been trained and trained well?
That's a great question. First of all, hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. It's an honor to be here. And I just have to preface by saying that every single person on this panel, these storytellers, have deeply, deeply inspired me. And it's no joke that we keep oxygen. We have, on often quiet, dark days, we look to each other and just understand that, oh God, if she goes, then I can go. When one rises, we all rise. And I just want to say that. So, the question about skill and talent is really exciting. When I was in Sundance Institute, I asked for a very skilled actor to work against a very green actor. And I wanted to find out what my own, because they said, you know, pick something you're not comfortable with. At every turn, do something that you're not comfortable with. Do the thing you don't know you can do. And so I wanted to see if I could get someone who's basically in like a Maserati gear shift with someone who's on a tricycle. And I'm so glad that I did that, because I've had that experience on the job. And with people who show up, I mean, every show I've done, there's been, you know, like the Regina Kings and the Felicities, and I've had a really, really badass experience, not by default, and my reps and I pick selectively, and I will tell you that it's something to show up when someone has done their homework. They know the character inside and out. They bleed, they ride or die. They know more shit that you can ever tell them.
We're going to try not to curse, but we can't promise.
Felicia note saying, oh, I hope I don't curse. But darn. So what happens is you get to have this phenomenal experience, and the reason I leave my house is not to just stand on set and be someone's robot. I leave my house because I want to find the magic. I want to see where the crazy stuff lives. I want to see where the things that I can't imagine and someone can do something past my tiny imagination lives. So when you show up on set with people who are skilled, especially coming from Juilliard, they're like, you walk up and you just whisper half a word, like half a vowel, half a consonant, and they're like, oh, I got it. I'm going to show you something. And then you just get to have this really incredible experience, and you basically you just keep diving levels and levels and levels, like beyond conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. There's another layer where creativity actually lives, and it's without inhibition. It's without regard for a camera. It's without regard for an audience, and it has something to do with just connecting to the human experience. And so that's what happens when you show up with people who take it very seriously and understand that the unit flies because everybody does their job.
Thank you. So, when you got hired to do Queen Sugar, what did you bring to the experience from filming Yelling to the Sky, which I know is a really important film for you, into the work there, and what elements in the episode express best your aesthetic as a director?
Oh, that's fun, because everyone should know that I had been kicking the can trying to shadow for years, and Ava sent me a note in an email that I'm going to ask for permission one day to publish, but not publish, put on Twitter. But it's an email, and it was a clipping from Variety about this horrible statistics from USC Annenberg and from München that women in film is involved in, and it was horrendous. The numbers were worse than the year prior when we had first discovered, and come out and the feds came to town to lock everybody up. Nobody got locked up and not much has changed. But the people who have always been looking to hire someone have now started to hire. So Ava sent me a clipping of that, and it said, screw them, let's just keep employing each other. And she asked, would you come out and direct an episode of Queen Sugar? And I was like, my response was basically, do you understand that for all time in the books, the thing will be that you were the one that hired me first. You were the one that took the leap. You were the one that made the risk, right? And so for her, she's like, it's not a risk. She loved my film. When we talked about the film and the tone call that you have before each show for every show director, she said, I hired you because I love your film. I respect what you do. As far as I'm concerned, these are 60-minute short films. Go do your thing. Get your frames, get your performances. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going to say a little New York slang here. I was like, it's like that? And she said, yeah, it's like that. And no one ever came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, why are you doing that frame? No one ever came to me and said, ooh, that's a weird moment. Nothing's happening. Why are you shooting the guy playing with the clover on the ground? No one ever said anything to me. I mean, no one ever. Everyone could speak here. And not only that, when I handed my cut in, the shit that I did that was off,
It's okay.
The stuff I did that was off, that speaks to my heart, no one ever said, like, oh, you got to go back and reshoot that. Ava was like in the back, you turn around, everyone will tell you, you turn around, you look at Ava's show, and she's just like, her insides are jumping at the idea that someone gets to play at their optimum creative level. And so basically I could tell you that was an experience where no one clip my wings, and I've been lucky, but I've had only two experiences where my wings were clipped, and it's not fun, and it's not for me. I'm not the person you hire if you want a robot. I'm not the person you hire if you just want like an executor. I'd rather collaborate. I'd rather innovate than execute. And so, but I have had, with Queen was my first experience out the can, and I'm so grateful that I had a chance to really just play with what's in here, and it's quite unconventional, and I'm so grateful the industry is moving towards unconventional storytellers, which just means outliers, which just means human beings who never had a chance at the throne.
Thank you so much. Aurora Guerrero made huge waves with her indie Mosquita y Mari, and since then has worked on the new season of Queen Sugar. And she embraces activism as an LGBTQ Chicana first, and then infuses her identity into all the work she does as a writer and director. So you see, you didn't grow up thinking you could make movies, but someone influenced you at Cal Berkeley. It was an artist. And you began seeing film as activism. How do you find ways to work in Hollywood anchored in that perspective? And how do you find the kind of patience and tenacity that you need to have to stay the course?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm not going to curse because my 2-year-old's in the audience, so I'm good. But let's see. I think it's just, it's about, when you say Hollywood, I don't always gravitate towards that word or that world. This is my world right here on this panel, and people like Ava, like that's my community, and the people who keep it real, who write stories that are challenging to our society in a good way, that are casting people that aren't often cast, things like that. Like those are the people that's my family, that's who I gravitate towards, that's who keeps my sanity, that's who I look for, that's my tribe, as Ava says. So I think that's what I do, that's where I try to root myself. In film, that world has been the indie world for me, and I've spent a long time trying to build community, particularly with women of color and queer women of color, and trying to support each other in telling our stories. In the TV world, this is very new for me. And Ava, like Victoria, is the one that has opened up the door for me, and very much, you know, I was like, I've never done this before. No one's really wanted to give me a chance in television. And she's like, I love your stuff. I want you to come play in my house, you know. So that's, you know. So I went to go play in a house, and I want to go play in people's houses like hers, you know. So I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to also build my own home, you know, so I can invite these sisters to my home too to play. So, you know, that vision and that potential is what keeps my sanity. So that's sort of where I'm at.
You seem pretty sane to me.
Oh, thank you.
In the best possible way. Can you use specific examples about how you infused your personal aesthetic in the episodes that you've been directing for Queen Sugar?
Yeah, my one episode. So, you know, when Ava called me and invited me to direct, she said to me, Aurora, like, you have a very unique perspective, right? You're a brown woman, you're queer, you come from immigrant family. She's like, you know, that's exciting to me. You're an important voice, and I want you to find a place in Queen Sugar with that perspective. And so that was key, that she just opened up that door and said, be you. So I came to Queen Sugar being me. So since I see the world through these multiple lenses, whenever I read anything, I'm reading through those lenses. So it's an organic thing. It's not like a, let me be Chicana and infuse my Chicana self. You know, like, that's who I am. So that's what I bring. That's what I see. So I think that there were a few things that I brought that were organically me, from some music elements in the episode that were more Latinos inspired. That's my daughter right there. Hi. Music elements. There was an element where Nova is participating in a symposium around mass incarceration. So the dialogue around mass incarceration, and which is a big, something that we have to all be in conversation about. And that conversation is expanding into detention centers where a lot of undocumented people are getting locked up, and it's being privatized. So, you know, my mind expands in those ways, so I made sure to include that conversation in a visual during one of those scenes where you see a young boy and he's wearing a shirt that says, no papers, no fear. Right. So it's just, you know, they're subtle, but it's layered. So, so that's how I feel. I brought myself politically to the show and my perspective. And then I'm very visual, and I love the visuals of Queen Sugar, so I just sort of seeped myself in that visual world and kept pushing myself artistically. Are you working on anything that's personal work that you can talk about, or is there anything else you'd like to say is going to be in your next thing? Or I don't know what my next thing is going to be.
It's like 10 things.
I'm actually working on something with this homie right here.
Oh, nice.
For television that will, you know, that we're hoping to get off the ground, where it's a black and brown sort of perspective.
That makes it easy because we can follow both your Twitters, and one of you will say something, and then we'll all know. That'll work out nicely.
That's one of the things that is exciting to me that I'm working on.
That sounds exciting. Yes, thank you. Okay, Tina. She's an award-winning writer-director of Mississippi Damned, produced and directed on season 1 of Queen Sugar. She's also directed episodes of Insecure and Dear White People. Yeah, man, Insecure. She is now co-producer and director on Queen of the South. And here's a trailer for us with Thanks to USA.
When I was a girl, narcos killed my mother. I ran from them, but I'm not running anymore. Are you with me? I'll fight till I die.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
If you want to run an empire, you have to learn to control your weaknesses. It's either this or bullet. Your choice.
Women aren't meant to be in charge.
Finally, some humor.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. What you want, short, what you need. We're at war. The guy this hard won't go down easy.
He needs our product. He just doesn't know it.
It's your shot. Whoa!
Do I have your attention now?
I'm all ears.
Lit it up, pop. I hit
hit him up, I'm talking color money. Purple yin and blue germ, I got brown lira. I ain't talking about Ross with the gold chains, Himalayan Burke and cocaine.
Would you die for me? I'll do better. I'll survive for you.
Stream the latest episode on demand.
That looks so exciting. And some powerful women in that scene, those scenes. Both in Queen Sugar and Queen of the South, you produce and direct. How do you choose to do both, and how does that affect the finished product?
Well, I mean, I think one, to be able to produce, write, and direct on the show, I kind of come with an unfair advantage because I know exactly where the story is going. But I think the one thing too, and I try to bring that even though, you know, I didn't write a word in Insecure or Dear White People or American Girl Melody, I didn't do anything on that, but I still try to make sure to look at it from the writer's perspective. And I think that's one of the things that strengthens me as a director, is one, really understanding character, really understanding story. And you sit there and you get in those rooms and trust me, we go through so much of making sure we know that these characters are well-rounded, you're pushing it. And always, and I mean, I think this is one of those things that, you know, Ava gave me the chance on Queen Sugar season 1 when no one else would open that door. And then Gina called 2 weeks later, too late, to try to hook me up on Shots Fired. So, you know, I mean, you know, but my thing is, it's a supportive thing. It's like what you guys are saying. But she gave me that opportunity, and to not even to come in as a staff writer, but to come in on a producer level. And because she said, you already know, you don't need to start down that low. We need you to go ahead, and you've been doing Mississippi Dam. And one of the most humbling things I think I have ever heard her say about me, and I was just read in the room, and she was like, I saw Mississippi Dam and I knew I could make Middle of Nowhere. And making films makes it possible to think other people can do it. And I mean, I definitely know that feeling. I'm not going to embarrass her down there. But I know that feeling of how film can affect you. But yeah, just as a writer, producer, and a director of it, I just try to, one, make sure I switch my hats out when I need to. I can't help but to look at budget, time, and also just the material, and how do we visually execute that. And then also to kind of think about it, and one of the things we talked about Queen Sugar season 1, as well as like on Queen of the South, what are you trying to say? What are you doing when you bring up a point, and this is the story point? Do you have something, is it just salacious, or is it actually something that is important, something that you need to talk about? And for us to have on Queen of the South, like, you have two strong women in a man's world, you know, having to fight their way through. And what really attracts me to the story is that no matter what, or where these characters come from, it's about, for me, it was about survival, about fighting, about going through that. And that's something that we do every day in our industry of trying to survive and fight. And my thing is, we do it. And we do it by making the work, and we do it by supporting each other. And you don't see up here, we are not in competition, we are in support. And that's the thing about it. Yay, I didn't curse.
I'm not done with you yet. How do you stay in your power when there are challenges that have to do with limited thinking? That's kind of a daily experience in this environment that you guys are not only striving to excel in, but are actually doing really well and doing great work in. Can you talk a little bit about,
like kind of how to combat
anchored?
Those?
Being anchored in power, staying in your power.
Because it comes back to the work for me. Being anchored in what am I trying to say, and to make sure that we get our stories out there. And you grow up, and we all want to see people who come from our communities or reflect us, and you want to feel like you have a voice that's heard. And so that's something that keeps me always in it, because I'm like, we have so many stories to tell. We have so many, I mean, like, good God, we probably have how many pitches up here? I don't even know. I'm like, and out there too. I mean, I know y'all got pitches. So, and that's the thing about it. But do not let yourself go silent. And that's how we end up becoming completely powerless within this industry, and we're changing those things one step at a time. But my thing is, I'm not really a one-step person. I like to just leap on in. And so, you know, and I think that's one thing that we are actually doing, is moving it at a rate that we're accelerating. And I think that we all know that it needs to go even faster.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure that it goes faster by working together.
And the key really is about having writers that are women and having directors that are women, because it really is hand in hand to make that happen.
And it's a fight for that. And I mean, and I will be very candid about Queen of the South. We had our female showrunner fought very difficult to make sure. She wanted 7 of the 13 episodes to be directed by women, and she did exactly what she could try to do it. She only ended up with 3 of us.
Wow. What? I didn't get a call.
You were on the list, man. I got you on there.
I'm joking.
Trust me.
I was busy.
No, you probably were busy, but I didn't put it. It was like, as a producer, I'm like, here. So, but you know, but it was that thing about fighting. But here she is as a showrunner, having to combat, to fight, to make sure, and to have to say, why can't women do action? And that was the most preposterous thing. She was like, are you crazy? Why would we not be able to do action? I didn't know that came with testosterone and testicles. I just didn't know. So, you know, but the thing is, but you do have, and I think those are the things that start at the executive level. It comes on down to, yes, who's running the show? Who are they putting in their rooms? Who are they actually hiring? Who's the producing director? Who are the advocates that you have that are supporting you when you feel like you cannot go on and you're like, I'm just gonna kill somebody? These are the people that help you. That
and
give
the fans,
you that support.
Too.
Yes,
the fans
and
are
advance.
supporting people that are, you know, being present for the women doing the work.
Yeah.
You've got to be present for the women doing the work. Thank you. So Rosemary Rodriguez has done so much guest directing on TV, it's hard to even list them all. But some of her favorites are The Walking Dead and Jessica Jones. I think it's called 10,000 Cuts, was the one you did last season. So it's like one of the best episodes of the season. Now she is producer on the upcoming show Rise, starring Alii Carvalho. So collaboration is a big thing for you. You even have a show that you do that's a podcast where you talk to creators and artists about collaboration. So your commitment to research is a major aspect of who you are as a director. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, how those two elements kind of seal who you are as a director?
Sure. I mean, first thing I'd like to say is thank you, Leslie.
Oh.
Like, this woman works like her butt off to like bring us all here and get us all here in front of you. And you know, we all do it because we love what we do, but really the fans, I mean, I have to say, I just need to say this, that it gives me great joy because we all know what it's like to get beat up at work. And it gives me great joy to be able to direct the shows I do and to be able to like take a moment on social media and like, you know, put it out there and have people notice and watch stuff and then notice things in the frame that like nobody else you think even pays attention. And it brings so much joy and gratitude. I need to say that and thank you for that. So, thank you. So
collaboration and research.
Collaboration is key. I made a feature first before I got into television also. And so I'm a filmmaker who got into TV. And when I came up in TV, it was like about 14 years ago, and nobody even talked about women directors. The window was not open at all. There was, you know, maybe 5 of us, and there was a generation before me, like Mimi Leader and Leslie Combemale, and it was all locked up, and it was like that was it. And it was at the point where, you know, I would have meetings with people at, executives at studios and networks, and you know, I would hear things like, well, what shows of ours would you like to direct? And I'd be like, well, I'd like to direct that show. And you're like, oh, sorry, all the women and minority slots are taken on that show. And that was okay, because at that point, they were like, well, at least they were holding 2 out of 22 for women and minorities. So, and that would come, you know, they would think that was like at least progress. So I just think it's awesome that we've come this far. It's still very hard. I'm a collaborator because I'm a filmmaker, and I believe that, you know, it is not, you know, one person that creates anything. It has to come from a great script, and then I'm handed a great script, and then it's my set, and then It's my set, my crew, my actors, and then go out and make the best show possible. And collaboration with actors is everything. And again, the people that we get to work with, I mean, are phenomenal. I mean, I'm on set geeking out all the time at the people that I get to work with. I can't believe it, and I get to watch them. I mean, I get to watch them, and I get to whisper things to them, and then they get to tell me things. I mean, it's a phenomenal job. It's crazy. It's just amazing. And collaboration is everything. I think that, you know, maybe listening to people talking about this, as a female director, maybe because I came up on action, the first thing I did was a show called Third Watch, which was very character-driven, but like, you know, I had car going in the East River, you know, car crashes going in a hole in the ground, I had a shooting, like, you know, right out of the box, it was like doing really, really stuff that I love. And I have always wanted, like, it's been my goal my whole life to direct a James Bond movie. Like,
yes.
I am not the
I wanted to say that. So we need Idris and Rosemary. Let's put them together.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm not the person that has ever been like, well, I grew up in New Hampshire, you know, my dad was a bookie, but I'm just this little like girl and da-da-da, and I don't know anyone in Hollywood, but I've never been like, my story, who cares? That's just me. I want to go where the guys are. I don't know why I'm like that. I'll go with lipstick on and my dress, but like I need to go where they are. And I'm always pushing like to go there.
And we want to see you there.
Yeah, and that's where I want to be, and it's very, you know, now that the doors are open, it's like, okay, they're open, but like, you know, you get to be on this show because there's a female lead, and like, we'll put you on that show because there's a female lead. It's like, no, I don't want to be on that show. I want to be on whatever show I want. I want to be on The Tick. I want to be on Walking Dead. I mean, that's, you guys understand that,
she
right?
directed for The Tick, the new show. Yeah. So you like anti-heroes, that's kind of your thing. You're like really into complicated characters.
I like, yeah, I guess that is the story in a way. You're right. I just realized that. It's about the underdog. For me, it's about people that don't have voices. The first movie I made was about homeless people and drug addicts, and it was about, you know, people that you walk down the street and who are those people and giving those people a life. And I just finished my second feature, and it's about senior citizens, and it's about what is life really like? Like, what is life inside when you're 70s, 60s, and 70s? And not that anyone would care, but we all should care, because we're all going to get there. And so when we need to walk by older people, we need to say hello to them.
Plus, you have like the world's hottest 70-year-olds in your movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like George Hamilton and Barbara Bain, right?
Who's a like amazing actor who would know
Right.
he was a great actor, because
Right.
the joke's always on him, you know, but he's, so I wanted to let people shine that have been in this business for a long time, people like Barbara Bain and, you know, stuff like that. So I like to go where it's not black and white, and where, you know, especially in movies where people, you know, but then it makes it hard to get the movie out there because nobody really cares about those characters, because in real life they don't care about those characters.
I'm very interested quickly to say the story of when you were doing Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, and there was a problem on set, and one of the actors got really angry and just went up and held his hand. I think that was really a cool
that's so
story.
sweet.
Just like quickly, just for like a minute.
Oh, that was Robert
just-
Kelly. Bobby Kelly's a comedian. And yeah, because there was a lot of, so things would happen. Dennis Leary's an awesome guy, but you know, it's about him. He's writing, he's acting, he's directing at the same time. So he'll show up and you've got like, okay, we've got this 3-minute little thing that we're gonna do of music, and then he shows up, he's like, no, we're gonna do the whole song. It's like, wait, we can't shoot like a music video of like a whole song. That's my whole day's shooting. What? Anyway, so we got to adjust. So then, you know, Bobby gets like really upset. Everyone's thrown off, in other words. Everyone's totally thrown off. So then you have to be there as a director. You're the grounding presence. You're the one that goes with the punches. You just roll with it, stay happy, no complaining. Like just, you know, and it's fun, right? Because everything gets thrown up, you make plans, you throw it up, and then see what's going to happen. That's what we get to do, is like see the stuff we didn't plan. So clearly, working with Dennis is key for doing that. So Bobby Kelly got very thrown off, and he's a drummer, and he's trying to, anyway, yeah, he was on my podcast, and he talked about he got super frustrated, and sometimes, you know, working with actors is like, not like anybody else. They just want to be acknowledged, just how they feel, what they're going through. And so at that point, he was super like frustrated and angry. And you know what? It's just like, I just like went up and took his hand. It's like, dude, it's totally cool. Like, I got you. Like, it's fine. Sometimes you only have to say something like that. And that's it. Just changes the whole thing. All right, fine. You know
But I
what
feel
mean?
like that's a really awesome example of what is perceived to be a feminine choice in being compassionate and physically touching someone to just let them know everything's okay. And it works just as well for a director to do something like that. So it's like, you know, we all come with our bag of story and what we're capable of and what we're able to do. And I love that that was just the compassionate element of who you are. And you engaged that part of who you are to problem solve through your compassion. So I loved that story. Thank you so much. So Angela Robinson was on our panel last year, and we became friends. She's an awesome person. And her soon-to-be-released movie, Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman, wasn't even announced. And the new trailer was just released, and the internet went wild. And now we're going to watch it. So with thanks to Annapurna.
Who's Charles Moulton?
That is my pseudonym.
Why don't you write Wonder Woman under your real name? Because most Americans have a low opinion of comic book writers? Or is it something else?
A person is most happy when they are submissive to a loving authority. I want to study her.
She'll break your heart.
You don't be jealous?
I'm your wife, not your jailer.
I think you long for an unconventional life.
Maybe I just want her because you do. You think it's possible to love two people at the same time?
Why not? What is normal?
It can never happen.
The world won't let it.
The world can't stop us.
Is this what you really want?
Dr. Marston, every issue of Wonder Woman is filled with violence, torture, and sadomasochism. This abnormal behavior in your comic is reckless.
A woman must not be told how to use her freedom. She must find out for herself.
If you want to understand the mind of a woman, you can start with that.
You are brilliant, pure of heart, hilarious, ferocious. You are my life.
Wonder Woman has a secret identity. Why is that?
She has to hide her true self from man's world.
What would happen if Wonder Woman's secret identity was revealed?
Everything would be lost.
I wonder if you're the one with the secret identity.
That's pretty timely, I'd say. That's good timing on that. So, can you talk about casting Luke Evans? Because a lot of people didn't really know who he was, and then he was Gaston, and he's just getting, you know, the fans of Luke Evans really know everything. But now he's just getting to be this like super A-list star, and he brings something to it that just no one else could have brought to it. So can you talk a little bit about casting him?
Sure.
Yeah.
First, I want to say thank you to you, and thank you to. It was really important for me. I was like, we have to go to Comic-Con, like with this and the trailer. I've been working on this movie for about 8 years, so it's really exciting to see it, you know, come out. But I really wanted to share it with, like, you know.
We're very excited
the people
also.
Who love Wonder Woman. I was like, you have to like. They were like, you know. They were like, let's just, you know, focus on like old white people. And I'm like, no, like I was like, we have to go to Comic-Con. So anyways, I'm really psyched to be here. The Luke Evans, right? I've been obsessed with Luke Evans for many, many years. And actually, I think but like great train, like way back. But it was really Dracula Untold, actually, that really got me, because what I wanted is the movie's a lot about men and women and masculinity and femininity and feminism, and I really wanted a man who had this real manness, like this really like aggro kind of dude energy, but that also had this sensitivity and intelligence beneath it, which I felt like were really essential for Dr. Marston to have. And he's so incredible and intelligent and wonderful, and I think he just brought a kind of like depth of literally like experience to the part.
Absolutely. And so also Rebecca Hall, and this is post Christine, which people thought she was cool, but then she did Christine and she just won so many awards. So I'm curious about Bella and Rebecca as well.
Oh, I'm also, sorry. It was actually really neat because it's really hard, I'm sure everybody knows, to like cast, like, it seems strange, but who you think is good in the part in movies. You know, like there's all sorts of like weird calculations and business and things. But I'd been tracking Rebecca Hall, who was just brilliant. Like you could just watch her read the phone book and you'd be like, wow, like that's amazing. And she'd actually found her way to the story on her own and was thinking about adapting the story of the Marstons and Olive Byrne. And then she read the script and we just met and kind of had a mind meld. And Bella Heathcote, who plays Olive Byrne, is super exciting. I get annoyed when people are like, they're a discovery, because she's definitely has a body of work. But she sent me, I met a lot of actors for the role, and she sent me tape, which like the actors just do scenes from your movie and they video themselves and they send them to you. And I just watched her tape and I was just blown away because she really was and I think she has a presence and a kind of depth that it was really important to me to show a kind of grounded, realistic and emotionally honest portrayal of these three people in this relationship. And I didn't want it to get, super lurid or scandalous or something. I really wanted to kind of play the emotional honesty of their relationship. And I just started banging the drum. I was like, you guys, look, like, watch this. She's incredible. So I'm really excited for everybody to see her.
So what, can you say what the day is that it's being released?
October 27th.
So.
Coming at you.
Which is always a very good sign. That's like that's right around when the really hot, really great movies, like both so maybe part blockbuster, part good award-winning type time period for movies. So that's a very good sign.
1,500 screens, so that was cool.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that never happens.
Okay, Gina Prince-Bythewood. This is her first time at San Diego Comic-Con, but it will not be her last. I feel like this is her dipping her toe in for Hall H, which she'll probably wind up in pretty soon. With the upcoming Silver and Black, she's the first woman of color to direct a superhero movie. Her former credits are screenwriter-director for Secret Life of Bees and writer-director for the great Beyond the Lights. And she directed the pilot episode of the upcoming Marvel series Cloak and Dagger, and we're gonna see a trailer with thanks to Freeform and Marvel.
Did I ever tell you about that night? What just happened?
It's like you're afraid if I don't do everything perfectly, you're gonna lose me.
Oh, baby, I'm afraid even if you do everything perfectly, I'm gonna lose you.
What's your name?
Tandy. And his name was...
Yeah, Tyrone. Don't shoot!
Wait, are you that kid?
So when I think of your particular magic as a director, I think of, you probably didn't choose that music, but music for you I feel like is a really important element in your work, as is the casting. You've cast people that you've fought for that have proven to be spectacular and grown to be on the A-list almost immediately. So can you talk a little bit about how you make those choices?
With both music and acting?
Yeah.
Yeah, music absolutely is such a huge part of my process. I write to music, I direct to music, I edit to music, think to music. I mean, every script I have has its own playlist, and it's just songs that open me up emotionally to what I'm about to write. I mean, I think Love and Basketball was Lauryn Hill's X Factor. Just put that on repeat. Beyond the Lights was a lot of Coldplay and Rihanna.
You used this woman's work just recently, Maxwell's version of this woman's work.
Yeah, I use him for everything. Yeah. And Nina Simone is a big one as well. So love music so much, and then it's really the same thing with actors as well. Is when I'm creating, I create my dream cast, and I put their pictures up on a bulletin board and write to them, and it's really helpful to try and get their voices in my head as I'm writing. And it's also inspiring because, as the writer-directors know, I mean, writing is extremely lonely and tough, and especially if you're writing specs. You're writing a script that no one's paying you to do. You're just hoping that somebody wants to see the story. And with me, I write slow, and usually takes about a year to write something. So it's scary, but if I have that dream cast and I picture the premiere, those are the things that get me through the days that I'm just totally blocked and stuck.
That's wonderful. So can you talk a little bit how you wound up chosen for Silver and Black? And I heard you say that she can't talk about the plot, but that that it's like a running, it's running in your brain all the time. Just ideas, and just talk a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it was a really beautiful thing that happened. I love the genre. I love comic book films. I love heroes, and I have 2 boys, and so I see everything. And my younger son is a comic book head, and so he has everything, and it's just been a really cool thing to be able to share this with them. And there's always been this question of when is a woman going to have the opportunity, and there's this really idiotic belief in Hollywood that women don't have a desire to do these kind of films. Right. And it really has been in the last, I would say, 2 years that there's always been a drumbeat, but for some reason it finally clicked in. Maybe it's shame. But the numbers,
that's what it takes, man.
I mean, because the numbers, as Victoria said, the numbers are abysmal, and numbers don't lie. And so people just haven't shut up about it. And I know absolutely that I have this opportunity because of women who haven't shut up. So I did Cloak and Dagger for a couple reasons. Foremost, I really dug the script, and I love the characters, and I love what we were trying to do with that, of doing kind of a young adult thing within the Marvel universe. My younger son, 4 years ago now, we were sitting watching something, and he turned to me and said, "How come we don't ever get to see black superheroes?" And that stuck with me, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do Cloak and Dagger. But that got me into the world, and I had my next film ready and set up to go, and I get a call about, hey, there's this movie that Sony's doing, spin-off of Spider-Man, about the 2 female characters, and I said, I have my next movie, and I really can't look at anything, and then they told me the 2 characters, and I said, okay, I'll read it. And it took 10 pages, and I was done. I was just so excited about these 2 women and the story that I'd be able to tell, and the world I'd be able to play in, and went in and talked to the producers, and it was a really, it's not always this quick, but there was an innate feeling that I knew I was the best person for it, and so when you have that belief, and I saw the film in my head, then I was able to come in with that swagger, and And they felt it, and then the very next day I had to go in and meet with all the heads of Sony, and usually that's a very intimidating thing, because most of the producers were women, then you walk in and it's a room full of men. But it was just the same thing, just telling myself that I knew I was the best person for this, and come in with that confidence and tell them the story I wanted to tell, which it was a really grounded story within this fantastical world of Marvel, and they dug it, and I got it.
It's very exciting. I can't wait to see it. So, Kirsten Schaefer is the executive director of Women in Film LA, which all of you should belong to in any capacity that you can. They're working really hard to make a difference for women in film. You should check out on their site, they have something called Flip the Script, where they have exactly something that happened, but the genders are switched, and it's very eye-opening. But I'm going to finish up with her talking about why it's exciting that Wonder Woman happened, but it's not enough, and how important it is for you guys to be part of the change.
How many minutes do we have?
3, 2,
Okay,
1, 2.
All right, got it.
1.
So, we all know that the film has been tremendously successful at the box office. One unique and important thing about the box office is that most action movies get about 62% men attending them. Wonder Woman had it 50-50. And so what this demonstrates to to financiers, to studios, to the money people, is that women, two things. One, that men will come out to see an action movie with a woman at the center. And two, that women make money at the box office. And so that's where the hope lies, right? That like the industry sees this and will then funnel more money into these kinds of movies that we then all get to experience. However, we have seen, successful films made by and about women in the past, and it hasn't changed the numbers. The numbers in 2016, with all the talk, with all the heightened awareness, numbers in film and television, numbers of female directors of top-grossing movies and the most popular television shows have not moved. They have not gone up. I'm really hoping when the 2017 numbers come out at the beginning of 2018, we will see some movement. But this is why it still matters that we continue to talk about it, and more importantly, that audiences demand the kind of media that you all want to see. So if you want to see more women at the center, you want to see more women directing, that's the stuff you need to pay for at the movie theater and pay for on your small screens.
And speak about and talk about and follow. Every woman here is on Twitter. So you have to follow all of them. You have to pay attention to the work they're doing. You have to promote it, talk about it, expand on it, support it in every way you possibly can. Thank you so much, and thank you for our time.